Welcome back to Indians Insider. I'm your host, Connor. The Indians are 2 months into the season as they head into a series against the division rival Minnesota Twins. The 2016 first-year player draft has just passed, and for some teams this is the highlight of their year, a chance to hopefully draft the next big thing. For the Indians, that wasn't exactly the case. Due to the free agent signings of Matt Latos and Tyler Clippard, the Indians didn't make a selection until the very end of the second round. However, for an organization like the Indians, this isn't necessarily bad news, considering where the big league squad sits at this point in the season. That will be covered later on. But for now, let's take a look at what the Indians did in the draft. The Cleveland Indians' first pick was left fielder Mac Owen. With an MLB-ready bat, Mac Owen can make an impact right away. And for a pick this late in the draft, he could be considered a steal. His lack of defensive range and speed limits him at this stage of his career to either left field, first base, or the designated hitter spot. But at 20 years old and with the beat potential, there's plenty of time to work on that. The Indians may have to consider him as a bat next season if Brandon Moss leaves in free agency or David Murphy struggles or an injury occurs. Another thing to note that may give him leverage within the organization is that he bats from the right-handed side, which is not something that can be said of any current Indians outfielder. He immediately becomes the organization's number 3 prospect, behind left-hander Brian Johnson and third baseman DJ Peterson, and just ahead of fellow outfielder Clint Frazier. Their next pick was one that someone would more expect out of the middle rounds, as right-handed reliever Glenn Croft was selected. He may never be more than a 4th or 5th guy out of the bullpen or a depth option, but you can never have too many of those. Croft is a balanced pitcher in terms of makeup with no major areas of concern. However, his development may be hindered by his lack of an effective breaking pitch. He sports a great fastball and has excellent control over it, but it's hard to say whether a fastball pitcher can be all that effective out of the bullpen or in general. It'll be interesting to see how he pans out. In the 4th round, the Indians took utility player Vic Campanella. Currently, Campanella profiles as a shortstop, but he's also shown capabilities of playing corner outfield. For good measure, the organization should also play him at the other infield positions, and maybe hope he can be a replacement for Mike Aviles in the coming years. A capable defender with above-average speed, Campanella's major concern in his development is his bat. He'll likely never hit for any sort of power, and even his contact skills don't profile all that well. His speed and defensive skills might be his best shot at making an MLB roster. An interesting pick after that was 21-year-old Dominican outfielder Ramon Reyes. He has a fantastic bat, capable of hitting for both average and power, and excels with runners on base in front of him. The minus to this guy when you look at other aspects of his game is that despite a rocket arm, he's a horrendous fielder, and he's not very athletic despite being only 5'9 and 210. Scouts also say that his bat may be due for a drop-off as he transitions to American baseball, so that may be another area of concern. He definitely has the bat of Yoenis Cespedes, a fellow Hispanic import, but currently he doesn't have the other attributes that make Cespedes a star player, and he might not ever. The final pick in the draft was right-hander Jason Bermudez. Bermudez makes for an interesting prospect due to his velocity and strong breaking pitches, which lead to a lot of strikeouts. His lack of control, however, leads to giving up a lot of base runners, and he has a history of issues straining those runners when they get on base. One positive that comes out of him, though, is that he has a knack for limiting home runs. He really does need to work on his control issues to have any shot at making the bigs, though. And with the draft covered, let's talk big league. The Indians are in the midst of another phenomenal year, playing themselves to a 37-18 record through 2 months of the season. Despite a hot start to the season, holding at least a share of the lead in the division as recently as 2 weeks ago, the Chicago White Sox sit 5 games back of the Indians. The two teams have not faced off yet this season, and that could prove as an important fact if the two remain close as the season goes on, especially given Chicago's performance within the AL Central this season. I wouldn't be too concerned with that, though, as the Indians got off to a very slow start and are just now starting to perform like the team we've all expected. The team currently sits in the top 5 of several categories, both batting and pitching. Currently, the team is 5th in batting average, despite Michael Brantley being the team's only current 300 hitter, and a testament of how deep this lineup is. They're also tied for 3rd with the New York Yankees in the run-scoring department. The team is 5th in triples, with a surprising Yan Gomes having 3 so far on the season. 4th in drawn walks, including an AL-leading 31 from Carlos Santana. 4th in on-base percentage, again Carlos Santana having a phenomenal year at the plate. 4th in ERA, 2nd in the American League, just a little bit behind the Texas Rangers. 2nd in complete games with an insane 5 from the staff ace Corey Kluber. 1st in saves with an MLB leading Cody Allen with 22. and 4th in runs allowed behind American League leader Texas by 5 and 1 ahead of division rival Chicago. The team has also been the 5th best at issuing walks, with a paltry 12 from Corey Kluber. Moving on to award consideration, recent acquisition Stephen Piscotty has garnered heavy consideration in the last month for American League Rookie of the Year honors, along with Miguel Sano and Paulo Orlando of the Minnesota Twins, the team that we will be facing off against in the next installment of Indians Baseball. If Corey Kluber keeps the course, he could be adding another Cy Young award to his collection, as along with the Seattle Mariners ace King Felix Hernandez and surprise breakout Colin McHugh of the Houston Astros, Kluber is considered a frontrunner for the league's award. Kluber previously won the honor in 2014, winning over a heavily favored Hernandez thanks mostly to a dominating stretch after the All-Star break. We'll see if that can be the case this time around. As league leader in saves for the entire league, Cody Allen is being talked about as a top reliever despite his ERA, but that can be attributed to a couple of very poor showings, including one where he blew a 3-1 lead and allowed a walk-off grand slam to be credited with 7 runs in just a third of an inning. That's bound to inflate anyone's ERA. Allen has blown just 3 saves on the season. In addition to his skills at the plate, leading the American League in OBP through 2 months, Carlos Santana has been among the game's elite defenders this year, yet to commit an error in the field and being the current frontrunner for the Gold Glove at his position. If he continues the pace he's on, he may very well work his way into a few MVP votes by the end of the year with his all-around play. Michael Brantley is also in contention for a Gold Glove following his 2015 win. He has yet to commit an error and has 3 outfield assists this season. A deep lineup has led to several of Cleveland's players to be in talks for Silver Slugger. Kluber was the big award winner for the Indians in 2014, but their catcher Yan Gomes was also awarded his position Silver Slugger that year. Continuing on this pace as he is now, and with an expected drop-off from surprise candidate Yosmil Pinto, Gomes should be a shoo-in for the award yet again in 2016. Jason Kipnis, last year's second-base Silver Slugger, has been considered the award yet again this season despite a somewhat disappointing start to the season. In addition to his work in the field, as we saw he was nominated for a Gold Glove before, Michael Brantley has bought it at the plate this year, leading to consideration for one of the Silver Slugger awards that is awarded to the outfielders. Let's move on to individual team leaders on the season for the Indians. For each stat, we'll be naming the team's top 3 players. If you'd like to pause, you can see the team's top 9 players for each stat. Team leaders in average: Stephen Piscotty, 307, Michael Brantley, 303, Yan Gomes, 282. Hits: Brantley, 59, Brandon Moss, 59, and Ben Revere with 57. Runs: Moss, 35, Revere, 31, Brantley, 29. Doubles: Brantley, 14, Jason Kipnis, 12, Moss, 11. Triples: Kipnis, 4, Gomes, 3, and Revere and Moss both have 2. Home runs: Moss, 12, Brantley, 9, and Carlos Santana also has 9. RBI on the year: Moss, 35, Santana, 31, and Brantley, 29. Stolen bases and caught stealing: Ben Revere with 20 stolen bases, 4 caught stealing. Jason Kipnis with 7 stolen bases, 3 caught stealing, and Michael Brantley 4 stolen bases, 1 caught stealing. Walks to strikeouts, we're going to be going by walks. We'll just give you their strikeouts for reference. Carlos Santana with 31 walks on the season, Moss 22, and Kipnis with 21. OPS leaders, which pretty much indicate our overall best hitters: Brantley 886, Moss 852, and Santana 830. Fielding percentage: Brantley, Santana, and David Murphy are all fielding perfectly this year. And now for some splits: average versus right-handed pitching: Stephen Piscotty 318, Brantley 317, Giovanni Urshela 312. Average versus left-handed pitching: Franzen 308, Moss 303, and Piscotty 298. Average with runners in scoring position: Santana 375, Kipnis 302, and Urshela and Piscotty both at 294. Isolated power: our only 2 players over 200, which is still fantastic. Moss 287 or 237, and Brantley 221. Now on to the pitching. Wins: Corey Kluber with 8, Trevor Bauer with 7, and Matt Latos has 6. ERA: this mostly comes from the bullpen. Oliver Perez, .45 on the season. Shaw at a perfect 1, completely round, and Kluber 158. Quality starts: Kluber and Latos both have 9, and Keuchel and Bauer both have 7. Salazar sits with only 5, definitely looking for some improvement from him. Complete games: Kluber with 5, Bauer with 3. Shutouts: Kluber is the only one with any, and he has 3, so he's 3 for 5 complete game shutouts versus. Saves: Allen 22. Blown saves: Allen 3, Clippard 2, Shaw also with 2. holds Clippard with 14, Neil Ramirez with 4, Shaw with 3. Home runs allowed, Trevor Bauer with 11, Kluber 7, and Latos also 7. Total strikeouts on the year, Bauer has 74, Kluber has 67, and Salazar also has 67. So Salazar has the stuff still, he is just not performing. He has a very high ERA and he's walking a lot of people. Whip, Perez, .75, Shaw, .93, and Kluber, .94. And finally, Ks per 9 innings, Cody Allen, the closer, 10.36, Neil Ramirez, 9.92, and Tyler Clippard, 9.55. They are the only guys over 9 on the season. But with all good for the Indians on the season, there comes an unfortunate bad. Corey Kluber, our staff ace and Cy Young candidate, left his last game with an injury, and that injury was revealed to be a shoulder tear, an injury that will sideline him for the next 2 months. But the Indians have the depth. They've had a guy in the minors the whole year who is more than ready for the big time. This year in AAA, Brian Johnson is 5-4 with a 2.08 ERA and a .94 whip and 85 Ks in 82 1/3 innings. He will get the call in the meantime and could potentially stay in the rotation over Danny Salazar if his showing is strong enough. That does it for Indians Insider. The team is just getting into the meat of their schedule with the All-Star break a few weeks away, and they're in a fantastic position if I do say so myself. The loss of Kluber will be a big one, but the rest of the team is very capable of performing, and if they continue to do so, then this team will be very, very capable of having a chance to do something special. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay tuned for the next edition of Indians Insider, where the Indians will head to the land of 10,000 lakes to take on division rival Minnesota Twins. Thanks for watching, everyone. Drop a like and subscribe for more Indians baseball on the show.